Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing Marie Antoinette Season 2. So, before I head into my thoughts and feelings on Season 2 of Marie Antoinette, just a quick disclaimer. I don't consider history to be a spoiler, so some of the things that I will be talking about in this particular video may or may not have spoilers depending on how you see things, I suppose, depending on if you just don't want to know anything about this season. But yeah, as far as things that might not be historically accurate, any creative liberties taken, yeah, there's a chance I'm just going to be talking about spoilers in general and things that do deal with real history, you know. So yeah, I'll leave it up to you whether or not you want to continue on with this video or not. I mean, seriously, I don't know why you'd be watching this video if you've not seen the second season, so you know. So on to my thoughts and feelings on Marie Antoinette Season 2. I was just looking forward to this season immensely, you guys, and it kind of just appeared out of nowhere on PBS because I didn't even know if this show had even been renewed or not, to be quite honest. And then, yeah, because I was really looking forward to Wolf Hall. Wolf Hall aired on PBS right before Marie Antoinette did, and PBS was doing all sorts of publicity and promoting for Season 2 of Wolf Hall, but they didn't do any sort of promoting for Marie Antoinette Season 2, which is just kind of frustrating. So I literally kind of didn't even find out about this season maybe just a couple weeks until it aired. Seriously. So, yeah, I'm just really glad that this show got a second season. I'm really hoping we get a third season because just the direction that this particular season took and the way it ended, it seems like they have an end game with this show and that they want to do 3 seasons and that's going to be it. And we're going to get to, you know, the rather tragic demise of Louis and Marie. We all know how that goes, off with their heads. So just a really quick recap, I suppose, of what went down in Season 2. We had 8 episodes this season. Yes, I think that's a nice little good number for this particular type of show. And yeah, the big plot of what was going on this season, Louis and Marie face a devastating financial crisis and a political collapse as their enemies seek to destroy them, and a revolution is on the horizon. My God, seriously, there's a lot going on this season, you guys. And woo, what a season. I was tremendously in love with this season. I do think the front half of the season, there was something about the front half that was a little bit slower, a little bit more with a steady pace, and it was kind of just really gradually building up the plot and building up the characters, which I was totally fine with. I was fine with a slower front half of the season because I really do feel like the back half of the season, things just really escalated and really picked up and things got really dramatic, and there were definitely a few instances in the second half of the season that I found myself getting teary-eyed and emotional and just really feeling for Marie Antoinette and Louis. And let me start here with how I feel about Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th. I like that this show, I like that they really humanize the two of them and that we have these moments to sympathize with them and kind of understand them a little bit. Because that's the thing with Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th. They are both just larger-than-life historical people that we as normal people, we as commoners, if you will, we just can't understand a lot of the various different aspects of their life. We can't relate to their wealth. We can't relate to their privilege. We can't relate to the extreme weight and burden that's on their shoulders, you know? So I like that this show really showcases Marie Antoinette and Louis the 16th as incredibly flawed human beings. It's not so cut and dry. It's not so black and white with them. I think depending on which historian you kind of gravitate towards, you know, or group of historians, you know, I think there's the group of historians that really vilify Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette, you know, and really put a lot of the blame on their shoulders. And then there's like another group of historians that they try to understand and sympathize and kind of look through their eyes as best they can. So I like that the show really showcases how incredibly flawed Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI are, that they're not perfect human beings, but that's also it at the same time. They are just human, you know. They genuinely feel like they have been given this divine gift of ruling, you know. I mean, that's how monarchs have always felt for centuries, that they have been given this divine right to rule over over the common man. So they really do genuinely believe in that, you know. And I like that the show really just shows the two of them struggling, that they're not perfect monarchs, that when they succeed, they have some pretty good successes, but when they fail hard and they fail miserably. And I like that this show shows that those vulnerabilities and the strengths, and it doesn't ever vilify them, is the thing. I like that the show never ever vilifies them like they're horrendous people. There's a lot of depth and humanity there, while also showing that they're not perfect. They probably were not the best leaders for France during this time period whatsoever, and that, yeah, everything is not just entirely their fault. You know, they also had a team of advisors helping them, and they didn't have sometimes the best advisors helping them with important decisions, you know. So I like that the show really focuses on just the court as a whole, and the people who are trying to help Louis and Marie, the people who are really trying to hinder them because they have their own obstacles or their own agendas that they're trying to play around with, their own quest to get to the throne of France, you know. Marie and Louis, I think the biggest takeaway that I get from this show is that they're two young people, they're just trying their best. You know, they're just trying their best and trying to do what they think is right. And once again, sometimes they have successes, but more than anything, they have a lot of failures. So, as I said, we got a lot going on this season, which really helped, I think, with a lot of the pacing of the season. Just a lot of various different moving parts, a lot of moving plots, a lot of moving characters. It really made for a fascinating, interesting, really intense, jam-packed season, I think. So where we open this particular season, you know, because season one pretty much ended, and France was, I believe France was just about to get into kind of the American Revolutionary War, like help America out with that whole thing, you know. I think they were about to kind of get into that. So we kind of had that really dramatic cliffhanger at the end of season one. So this season, because I kind of, for some reason, thought that this season was going to be a lot kind of set during the American Revolutionary War, like what France is kind of doing during that time period, you know, while they're trying to help America. But no, we skip ahead quite a few years, and yeah, the American Revolutionary War is already complete. So we open this season with that side of things of history being finished, and the ramifications of that in France, the decisions and choices that Louis made in regards to helping France, or sorry, with what Louis did in deciding to help America, but also, you know, kind of going back against England at the same time because they hate England so much. And what has happened during this time that we have skipped out on in between seasons since the war is over? France is in pretty dire straits. They are like in debt. And it's not good. Billions in debt. I had to remember to write that in my notes. They are literally in billions of debt. The country is not doing good. So they are facing a financial crisis. They're facing a political crisis as a result of the financial crisis. And yeah, there's all these different groups of characters. There are the people who are genuinely trying to help Louis and Marie, you know, because they don't want to see the country fail. But then there's definitely a huge chunk of the cast that are working against Marie and Louis because they want things for their own agendas, their own gain, you know. And then, you know, especially like Louis's brother, for instance, you know, Louis's brother has his own thing going on in the background that he thinks, oh, you know, let my brother suffer, put all this blame on him with this political and financial crisis because people will come running to me and look to me. But it's like he is so ignorant and naive about that. You know, that's kind of what, like, as I'm viewing the show, I'm looking at Louis's brother thinking, God, you are such an idiot if you think people, just because they hate Louis, they're going to come running to you, because they sure are not. The common people are not in love with their monarchy right now. They are not in love with what's going on in France. So I love how just ignorant and naive Louis's brother is this season, and it kind of dawns on him a little too late, the reality of the situation. So, like I said, we have a political crisis. We have a financial crisis going on in France. It's all intense. And, yeah, we have this whole thing kind of in the I think the latter half of the season, where Louis is suggesting some tax reforms, making the nobles and the clergy pay more taxes, which, oh, okay, yeah, duh. But yeah, the clergy and the nobles, once they get wind of this, they're like, oh, hell no. Of course they're like, oh, hell no, don't raise no taxes on us. So you have that whole group of people, you know, once again, just people being so ignorant and naive, thinking they're safe and that they can walk all over Louis. Of course, we, the audience, we know in hindsight what is coming. We know that the common people, enough is going to be enough for them here in a bit. And then, yeah, like I already mentioned, Louis's brother, Provence, and his cousin, right? His cousin, Orleans, they have their own schemes going on in the background to try and take the throne. They're both kind of competing with each other, but it's like they're both kind of working with each other, but also working against each other, but for the same common goal, weirdly enough. Yeah, we have the forming of the National Assembly at the very end of the season. We got a mob taking over the Bastille at the very end. So yeah, we get this idea of a revolution is beginning. And yeah, poor Louis and Marie. Once again, I love how the show really humanizes Louis and Marie, because we see the death of two of their children this season. Yeah, guys, and like two of their children who were still very much kind of in infancy for the most part, and yeah, that kind of really tugs at your heartstrings. Yeah, especially the second death. Oh my god, you guys, the second death that happens near the end of the season, the one boy who has the spinal problem. Woo! Oh my god. Talk about some amazing performances from Louis Cunningham and Amelia Schul, you guys. My freaking god. That scene where their son, like I said, the one with the spinal issue, that whole sequence made me bawl my eyes out, okay? So we have all that stuff going on, the political and financial side of things. But we also have the big thing of the diamond necklace affair. Now, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, okay? As much as I love history, the thing is, I'm not that familiar with French history. It's like I just know some very, very basic generic stuff about French history, because I tend to gravitate more towards like history of England and stuff like that. You know, that's kind of my thing that I love focusing on. So I had never heard, you know, prior to going into this season, I had never heard of the diamond necklace affair. And I had to do some research about it. Once that plot really kind of got going, I had to do some more research about it, because I was like, is this a for real thing that happened in history with Marie and Louis? And sure enough, it's a real historical thing that happened. And yeah, somehow I have never heard of this event, and I love it. It's just so juicy and it's so scandalous. And the season, for the most part, the diamond necklace affair is a huge chunk of this particular season. It pretty much goes from start to finish, because, yeah, we meet the character of Jan, I think is how her name is pronounced, and, yeah, how Cardinal Rohan fits into that whole thing. I liked kind of the slow burn of the diamond necklace affair, and just how it escalates and how it builds and how it just completely gets out of control and out of hand, and, yeah, how Marie and Louis kind of find themselves into this, and, yeah, kind of how it backfires, you know, the fact that this whole thing backfires quite horribly on just everybody involved in some fashion, because yeah, Louis and Marie have faced the ramifications of this affair, because at first Marie, you know, she's insulted, like, you know, they're questioning me, and they're hurting and harming my reputation as queen. You know, that's an illegal offense here in France, you know. And yeah, that horribly backfires when she wants like a trial held. So I loved how the diamond necklace affair played out. It was just so good. And like I said, I can't believe this is the first time I've heard about this whole thing. And I was just really into looking up the history about it and all the little nitty gritty details, and yeah, seeing what the show was taking from the real history and some of the liberties, because it definitely takes a few little liberties here and there with how the Diamond Necklace affair kind of played out, because I think they're kind of speeding through it a lot quicker than what I think happened in history. So let's get into some of the individual characters here really quickly. Amelia Schul, obviously playing Marie Antoinette. I just continue to absolutely be in awe of her performance this season. This is definitely a Marie Antoinette that's she's a little bit older, she's a little bit more mature, because last season was definitely her as a young teenage woman and her blooming romance, awkward romance with Louis, and her really just trying to discover herself. So we have Marie Antoinette this season who's I would say she's a little bit more comfortable. She's a little bit more comfortable with her place here at court to some degree, but you do definitely see those insecurities and vulnerabilities that she has, that sometimes she still feels like a foreigner. She sometimes feels like people don't entirely respect her, that sometimes people don't take her entirely seriously, you know? So it's like there is a degree of a little bit more confidence, but there's also still those vulnerabilities and insecurities that come out in really emotional places where you really try to sympathize with her and understand her. And seriously, what kind of frustrated me this season with the Louis and Marie Antoinette dynamic, Marie and Louis, it's like in between seasons they've had a little bit of some sort of falling out, it seems like. I just don't remember season 1 ending so dramatically that they had a falling out. Maybe I just don't remember the end of season 1 very well, but it seems like Marie and Louis have had some kind of falling out in between seasons, and there is like that awkwardness has returned once again. And yeah, it's like they're kind of just producing airs just to do it and get it over with, because that's what they have to do as monarchs, you know, but it's like they're not getting any joy out of it. And yeah, like Marie is going back to her Swedish lover. You know, her Swedish lover plays a big role this season, and she spends a lot of time with him, really more than she does Louis, I feel like. But yeah, again, Amelia Schul just a really stunning performance this season. Like I said, just a much more mature and older performance that I really appreciated, and Amelia Schul really really tackling some really weighty issues and topics. And then yeah, we have Louis Cunningham playing Louis the 16th. I just really love Louis Cunningham because I remember in my review of season 1, I remember that his performance, I wasn't sure how to feel about his performance at first in season 1, because for the front half of season 1, he was just so incredibly weird and awkward, and just he would always have his head hanging down, and he'd have like his hair was like really oily and greasy sometimes, and just hanging down all over the place and not well kept or anything. And then finally he kind of got himself well groomed in the latter half of that first season. But I feel like Louis Cunningham's performance this season, it's very much how Amelia Schul's performance is. You know, we're seeing a Louis who is he's older now. He has a little bit more confidence, but again, those vulnerabilities and insecurities play huge pivotal roles this season, because once again, how Louis was back in the front half of season 1, you know, he was a very insecure young man, very awkward, very socially awkward. He hardly ever spoke, and I feel like there's aspects of him reverting back to that front half of who he was back in season 1, you know, and yeah, people trying to play with that and pervert that to some degree, like he's going mad, he's going crazy, he's turning into a mad king, you know, and he's not. We see Louis in some pretty low places this season, like to the point that he is battling some serious depression, I think. Him and Marie both are battling some pretty bad depression. But yeah, him especially, he's battling some depression. He's battling doubts with his kingship. Like, am I even doing the right thing half the time? Am I trusting the right people to advise me? So yeah, poor Louis, he's the king. He has the most weight and responsibility on his shoulders, and yeah, he pretty much has a complete mental breakdown at one point, especially, I believe it's after their son dies, the one with the spinal issue. I think after that boy dies, he really has kind of a mental breakdown, and we see Marie have to step up into his shoes and try to rule the country as best she can, and she has no idea what the hell to even do, because she's not been trained in that. She's a woman. She was trained to do certain things. She was trained to be the wife of a king, essentially, so she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She's trying to learn. She's trying to do what she can to help Louis, trying to not make it so obvious that the king is going through something. You know, we can't let we can't let the nobles know that Louis is just, he's going through something right now. He needs his space. So I really like that relationship between Louis and Marie this season. Once they kind of get past that awkwardness in the front half, you know, and they start working with each other once again, I loved all that. And then let's move on. We have Jack Archer, who plays Provence, and Roxanne Duran, who plays his wife, Josephine. I really love Provence and Josephine, you guys. They are definitely like the comedic relief of this show. They're absolutely hysterical. It's like they have this crazy love-hate relationship with each other. And the thing is, I think they work best when they are working together, when they're like manipulating and plotting. That is when they work the best with one another, and they kind of get this kick and thrill out of it, like, ooh, you know. But yeah, they're definitely at odds this season, because yeah, Josephine is, it's like her sexuality is opening up and reawakening. I don't know if this is a creative historical liberty that the show is taking. I don't know if Josephine, you know, she had a female lover in her life. You know, I have absolutely no idea if she did, or if this is just a creative liberty for the show, just to kind of have something going down between her and Provence, you know. And yeah, I've already mentioned with Provence, he has his own schemes and manipulations going on, where he's trying to get the throne, and yet his ignorance and naivety, thinking, oh, the people and nobles are just going to come flocking to me, you know. And oh boy, I thought for sure Provence was a goner at the end of this season, you guys. And then we get that reveal that Josephine had been slowly poisoning him for the last couple episodes, because he kicked out her lover. So I'm glad Provence is not dead. And you know what? Seriously, like I said, I am no expert in French history at all. I have no idea what's going to happen to Provence, if he's going to get beheaded too. You know, I don't want to know. Seriously, I don't know if I want to know if he's going to get beheaded. I think I want to be surprised if he does get beheaded. I think I'd much rather have the satisfaction of knowing that he gets beheaded. Okay, moving on, we have Jasmine Blackborough, I think is how her name is pronounced. She plays Lamballe, and Leah O'Prey, who plays Yolande. Lamballe and Yolande are like two of Marie's closest ladies, and I love this dynamic and back and forth between Lamballe and Yolande, because it's like Lamballe is the old friend and Yolande is the new friend. Lamballe represents everything that's kind of older and traditional, I feel like, whereas Yolande represents things that are new and exciting in Marie's life. And I love kind of that back and forth with the two women, and them competing essentially for Marie Antoinette's affections all damn season. And it's kind of this thing of who is the correct friend for Marie. For me, I personally have always sided with Lamballe. I think Lamballe has always had a good head on her shoulders, I feel like. Yeah, she is prone to jealousy, you know, and kind of doing some outrageous things, but I don't think Lamballe has ever been fake or phony. I don't think she's ever really truly lied to Marie, you know, whereas Yolande there's always kind of something up her sleeve. She's always kind of doing something for her own gain. She's a little bit more sneaky sometimes. I like both of them, but yeah, I do think I tend to prefer Lamballe as probably Marie's truest friend and confidant and advisor. And boy, oh boy, I thought Louis was going to get himself a mistress with Yolande. I'm glad that did not go anywhere. It's like, it made me kind of respect to Louis, you know, like, oh, he doesn't want a mistress, and yeah, he may be kind of attracted to Yolande in his own way, but it's like he has no interest in kind of getting a mistress or anything. It's like he wants to be more of a respectable king, because yeah, like his predecessors, you know, like his grandfather and his great-great-grandfather, you know, Louis the 14th, they were notorious womanizers, and yeah, Louis the 16th is not like that at all, which I kind of like. Moving on, we have Oscar Lesage, who plays Orleans. Is that how it's pronounced? Orleans, yeah, because last season he primarily was Chartres, is that how it's pronounced? I'm not sure. I'm not French, you guys. So we get like a promotion this season for him, and he's Orleans. Oh boy, oh Lord, I hated. You know, I really liked him last season. And this season, oh Lord, sometimes I just wanted someone to just push his face in the mud, smack him. You know, if he gets beheaded, seriously, I kind of want to know, spoil me on his fate. Does he get beheaded? I would love if he got beheaded. Please, I want him to get beheaded so bad. We have Freya Mavor, who plays Jeanne. She is the big instigator of the whole diamond necklace affair. I loved her freaking plot this whole season, you guys. She was just so wildly entertaining and fascinating. Yeah, this whole kind of history she was coming up with on the spot, which some of it was true, some of it wasn't. And yeah, her whole thing for the, you know, the poor fallen women, you know, the charity for the poor fallen women. I don't know how many damn times she kept referencing, you know, the charity for the poor fallen women. And I just loved how she's just so easily enmeshed herself into the French court, and that people were kind of a little suspicious of her, but it's like they kind of moved on from that so quickly, which was absolutely insane, you know, just how trusting they were of her. But yeah, I loved her whole plot in this, and how she's the instigator of the diamond necklace affair. Yeah, her seducing of Cardinal Rohan and making him think that Marie Antoinette is the one sitting here writing all these letters to him, and yeah, her backstabbing and betrayal. And yeah, I knew, because I had done research on her as well, when I was looking up stuff with the diamond necklace affair, and just kind of, I was curious her fate, and her fate in the show is pretty much the same as what happens in real life, is my understanding. But once again, the show, for creative purposes, creative liberties, she dies way sooner than what happens historically, if I'm not mistaken, because somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she dies sometime after the French Revolution, like after Marie and Louis are beheaded, you know. I want to say, the research of this, she dies sometime way after the fact. That, yeah, she does jump out a window. She's trying to escape from the law. She's jumping out a window, and like she breaks her neck, you know. Like, that is historically accurate, but yeah, the show kind of brings it forward and moves it up a little bit better, so we get more of a satisfying conclusion for her character, you know. Yeah, Jeanne was just so fascinating, because there was this part of me that I kind of hated her. You know, there's a part of me I kind of hated her, but I was at the same time really thoroughly entertained by her. And I definitely started, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely started feeling a lot of sympathy and pity for her by the end of the season. Especially, you know, because once the trial is playing out, because she's a woman, I do feel like at the trial, she was kind of depicted a certain way, and even her sentencing, I feel like she was given a harsher sentence than her male counterparts, who were part of the whole thing as well. And yeah, like, I felt a lot of sympathy for her when she was kind of taken out and kind of stripped down, and then they took that iron and branded it onto her back and everything, you know. Like, I really felt a lot of sympathy for her, and I really felt like just because she was a woman, she got a harsher sentencing. They were treating her more harshly just during the hearing itself. So I did. Like I said, I don't know about you guys, how you felt about Jan kind of as the season was progressing. It's like there was a part, I had like a love-hate relationship with her, but I think more than anything, I started feeling a lot of sympathy for her by the end. Let's see, we have Martin Lakemeyer playing the Swedish lover, Fearson. It was nice to see him back this season, because he literally kind of popped up in the last couple episodes of season 1, so it's nice to see him playing a bigger role this season. And yeah, this big suggestion of him being the father of a couple of Marie's children, you guys, which once again, I don't know how historically accurate that is. I'm assuming it's probably historically accurate that there were a lot of rumors during the time. You know, there was probably a lot of rumors whose children, some of these children, you know. So yeah, the show's definitely kind of playing into that a lot more, taking that creative liberty, like, yeah, this is some of his children for real right here. We have James Northcote introduced this season, playing Callion. I really loved his character, you guys. Just James Northcote in general, I love him as an actor. Seriously, I loved him on The Last Kingdom, you guys. He was one of my top favorite characters on The Last Kingdom, so yeah, when he popped up on this show, I was like, oh yay. But yeah, Callion, seriously, I can't remember. If I was watching the show like the day before filming this video, the pronunciation, I would have some of these pronunciations down, but now their names, the pronunciation has just slipped my mind. But yeah, James Northcote, he's playing like this new, what would you call him, like this new financial advisor to Louis this season. And yeah, he kind of wiggles his way in through, you know, some finagling. You know, Yolande is helping him wiggle his way into the position. Yeah, he's like this new financial advisor, and I like that. It's like he has his own agenda why he wants to get in there, because I think he's trying to pay off, if I'm not mistaken, he's trying to pay off some debts. And he thinks he can kind of, you know, get a little bit of money put aside here and there that can go towards his debts and nobody will notice. But then yeah, once he gets the position and once he finds out the severe billion-dollar debt that the country is in, you know, it's like he really kind of steps up his game, and he becomes a really vital, important character this season, really trying his damn best to help Louis, trying to help the country, because yeah, he needs all that to help himself, obviously. So yeah, James Northcote was just amazing this season. I loved him. We have Jessica Clarke playing a character named Felicity. I have no idea if Felicity is a real historical person or not. I feel like she's a made-up character. On a side note, Jessica Clarke, because the creators of the TV show Versailles are also the creators of this show, if I'm not mistaken, and Jessica Clarke played a major character in the Versailles TV show, so I was like wildly happy and excited to see her pop up in this show. as this random character. Yeah, she has a lot of her scenes with like Orleans for the most part, and yeah, James Northcote. Yeah, she's just kind of a random character we go to here and there who has her own goals, her own agendas. We're basically seeing the eyes of the common people through her, you know, and I have a feeling that's going to continue even into the third season. We're going to see a lot more of the common people as they're rising up, and yeah, we see those inklings here, and yeah, Felicity is this nice gateway for the audience. And then you have one last person here, Maximilian Sewern, playing Cardinal Rohan. I had a love-hate relationship with Cardinal Rohan this season too, because he gets severely caught up into the whole diamond necklace affair. Yeah, it's like he has this weird, I don't know, fantasy crush on Marie Antoinette, especially when he thinks she's the one writing letters to him, you know? Yeah, I really liked him this season. He was kind of oddly funny and humorous. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to go into too much with some of the characters. Some characters I want to go into more than others, and others I just wanted to quickly mention. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my thoughts and feelings on this second season of the show. I really thoroughly enjoyed this second season. A lot of really good things going on. I don't really have anything to complain about, like anything that was like super frustrating or disappointing to me. I thought this was for the most part a thoroughly, really well executed, no pun intended, season. And if anything, it just really makes me excited for the third season, which I suspect will be the final season. And I just like what this show is doing with characters like Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, and, you know, humanizing them, showing their weaknesses and strengths. But yeah, I'm definitely curious, you guys down below, if you watched this latest season of Marie Antoinette, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you looking forward to a third and I think final season? So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.